This is a Mr. Hobo Kit, and it's everything you need to cook for one person, and the entire weight of that kit, including the fuel and the method to start stuff, is 12 3/8 ounces. I'll just go through the components of the kit real quick. On top is a little flip top squeeze bottle with denatured alcohol in there. This is a 2-ounce bottle. That's more than enough for me to cook 2 meals. I have a fire starter. I think this one's a Kershaw. Yeah, it is. The original lanyard for that broke, so I just made another one out of some paracord. This is your combination windscreen and pot holder, I guess you'd call it. It's just basically, I took an old El Paso enchilada sauce can, not the small one but the bigger size, and I cut 8 things around the bottom with a can opener and 4 around the top. And here's your penny stove. It's got a penny, the weight of the penny was included, and a little stove that I'll show you how to make. And finally, the cooking vessel. This is a 24-ounce enameled cup. Cost me maybe $5, maybe. You could really save a lot of weight using a different cooking vessel, but I just haven't yet because I'm kind of attached to this one. So half of the weight of that kit is from the cooking vessel. You could really save some weight there, but so for total cost of, I don't know, if you include the fire steel in there, I probably paid $5 or $6 for that. Paid $5 or $6 for the cup. I got this free, but I think they're about $1. So for the total cost of under $15, you can have a cooking kit that's completely functional and will cook for one person that weighs under a pound. For this project you will need 2 pop cans. Identical pop cans seem to work the best because sliding the top half into the bottom half can be very difficult if there's even a slight mismatch between the 2 cans. You'll need a utility knife of some sort, or any knife really will work. This one is a Gerber utility knife that I'll be using. And then something to rest the knife on as a guide. 3/4 of an inch higher, so I'm just using the sheath of my Swiss Army knife. You'll need a product called Grapho glass, G-R-A-P-H-O glass, which is a fiberglass product that's used for wood stoves to re-insulate the door of a wood stove. This package cost me like $5 and I got it at Menards, and it came with some sealant that I'll use as well. You'll need a pair of needle nose pliers and a hammer and a nail. Alternative to the hammer and nail, you can use a push pin, but you have to work a lot harder with the push pin, so I don't use that. The first step is to make to cut your cans down to size. To do this, I rest a utility blade on top of something. This stove I plan to make about 3/4 inch thick, and I just happen to have a knife sheath around that was exactly that height. And then you take the can and you push it up against your blade and just start spinning it around a few times. And what you want to do here is not necessarily cut the can, but kind of score it. And then once you get it scored real well all around, you're going to take your knife and make a little poke. If it goes well, the rest of the way you can just press in and it'll separate and separate along the line that you cut. Sometimes what happens is you get a tear like that, and if that happens, that's where your needle nose pliers come in handy. And once you have one side done, you'll do the same thing with the other. The next thing to do is to cut a piece of Grapho glass to kind of wrap up in your bottom half. It's basically just graphite coated fiberglass that's kind of been braided a little bit. Other people have just put fiberglass insulation in here. It's not like a big deal what you want to do. I just like this because I didn't want to buy a whole shitload of insulation. And I've cut the top half of the can out, and it's time to make some holes. The first hole I'm going to make is going to be the center hole, or this is where, or the fill hole, this is where your fuel goes in. And we'll just tap. And sometimes you need these a little bit wider, but I'm just going to widen it a little bit like this, and we'll go with that. Now you need to make your jet holes. Well, how many of these should you make? You know, I've tried them with more, I've tried them with less. I made one with 6, and the problem was that they didn't, not all of them lighted all the time. So what I had to do was put a couple more holes in, and the thing works fine. I'm just going to make this one with 8. I'm sure there's some whippersnapper somewhere that's got an equation that shows I'm wrong, but you know, it works. And so I'll make the holes. So now I've got all the appropriate holes made in the top, and what I'm going to do just for fun is I'm going to put some of this sealant on that came with my grapho glass, just to help things kind of stick together. Do I know it's going to work? No. But I've made a few of these before, and the top and the bottom don't come apart on the other ones, so I'm assuming that the sealant might have something to do with it. And I'll give it a good smear around with the edge of a paper towel here. You know, if it doesn't hold, I'm not out anything because the sealant came with my grapho glass, so I'm just doing it. I've seen some other videos where people use like a silicone sealer. Now with any luck we'll be able to slide the top and bottom half together, and it looks like it's going to fit pretty well. You don't want to cram the top all the way down onto the bottom, simply because if you do that, the top edge of the bottom that we crimped will go up and block those holes. So I try to make it, you know, a little bit even, not perfect, but somewhat even around there, and that looks pretty good. So now we'll do a little testing. I carry my alcohol in a little squeeze bottle like this, a little 2-ounce flip top squeeze bottle, and you just need to fill some of it into the top there. You don't have to fill it all the way up, but you need to get a good amount in there, at least for the first time you're trying this. And then the reason this is called a penny stove is, there you go, you put a penny over that hole. The other thing is this stove has to prime, and you have to get it so it'll light, and by priming what happens is you heat up the stuff. I'll explain it in a second here. I use a fire steel to start these because I think it's sexier. You can use whatever. So by priming, what you're doing is getting the alcohol inside that vessel to heat up and start vaporizing and shooting out of the jets instead of just burning off like it is now. See, there you can see it starting to prime. Looks like that jet at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, those jets are having a little bit more trouble. They burn a little crazy like this until they get settled down. I'll let it settle down and then reshoot in a second here. Oh, there it goes. See, they settle down eventually and then they burn real nice. The amount of fuel I put in there would be more than enough to, oh, I don't know, cook a pot of soup or whatever. But that's it. That's a penny stove.